you start to, tap into that inner knowing and that inner strength that comes from within ourselves, it starts permeating out of us, and we start to attract the right people that are there to help us, guide us through those things while also still living our lives, right?
Yeah. That's also tricky, though. You try and form your circle and your sisterhood and people that share, but it was like somebody said to me in Los Angeles one time, they were an alcoholic and they go to AA meetings. And I'm like, well, that must be nice to sort of share a common experience. And they're like, yeah, no, I'm in there with a bunch of drunks. And he's like, yeah, they're all people who are bad versions of myself at one point. But what his point was that everybody kind of has some value if you try and incorporate them in this dialogue and this growing and this conversation that you're trying to have. And there's such value. I mean, this is what we do here, saying these things out loud and sharing these. And people are like, oh, that's me. I understand that. And being able to own your vulnerability and being able to be honest with what you did wrong, how you were wronged, but mostly where you're going and what you do right. And until you can feel what a good relationship feels like, that is always sort of a nebulous thing. Does it even exist? You know?
Yeah. Trust me, I used to cry myself to sleep at night and pray, like, all of these things, because I thought that I was stuck, that there was never going to be anything better. This is just how life was. This is how men are, whatever. And I can't explain what happened, but I know multiple people that this has happened to. So maybe it is a thing, and I don't know the technical term for it, but I would say maybe even manifesting. I don't know, but anything that I ever dreamed of having or hoping and to walk alongside life with a partner is what I have in my husband now, which to me is just like such a beautiful reminder to me that God was listening to me during those times of despair, and whether I was vocalizing them or not, I think.
And to a lot of people who kick themselves like, oh, if I had only done this, I would have found this sooner. Maybe you wouldn't have. You kind of have to go through whatever you're going to go through on your path in life to lead you to this outcome.
Yeah. And it doesn't do any of us any good to be living in the past, right? It's like
the bright sunny skies follow a big storm a lot of times, and that helps and that matters. So what is the thing that you work with the most with people, women? What is the step one that you tell people to do? What is step one to sort of, when you focus within? Just take a breath? What is it?
So, I take them through, I said earlier, it's kind of like a grading system where they have to rate themselves in multiple areas of their lives, whether that is relationships or food, working out, I have a whole list of things. And depending on where they rate themselves is where I know is their biggest push that they're looking for help with. So,
and how is their honesty level with that? Is that a challenge because they don't want to be judged by you or themselves, or I'm good here?
Yeah, no, I think most. I hope that at least most people are honest with me about that. I mean, really, if you're going
hard,
to
though. Grading yourself is probably brutal.
It is hard, but I feel like when you get to that decision of wanting to better yourself and invest in yourself, right? So working with me obviously is an investment, and I think when we have money in the game when it comes to what we are wanting to accomplish in our life, that we are going to show up authentically and rate ourselves in an honest way. And so, going back to that grading system, I think, the only way for me to actually feel like I'm going to help people is to allow them to decide where they want to go first. I don't have a system for start working out and then we're going to meditate and then I don't, because everybody's different. We're all different.
People want to go to happy. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean,
happy's good.
Happy's a good thing. Yeah.
If you haven't laughed in 3 weeks, you need to figure out a way to laugh.
Yeah.
I think it is easier to be somebody who is. I know some people are just hard to laugh. We have this guy who does a podcast, one of the podcasts around here, and I've never seen him laugh. I've never heard him laugh. I don't know if he does laugh. I don't know if he holds it in.
Oh my goodness!
I don't think it's healthy. It's very strange.
Strange.
He'll say things that he believes are funny, but he's not laughing and he's not smiling. It's just straight. And I'm like, God, it would be hard to date this guy. Yeah, I dated a girl once, and she was a really intent listener. So she didn't have an expressive face. She would just be like, "Oh yeah," and I'm like, I need more back. Like, you got to smile at. She goes, no, I'm so in tune to what you're saying. I'm like, I don't care. I need cheap laughs. I need wild gestures. Like, give me the expressive face. Yeah. And she's like, that's not me.
I hope I'm doing a good job. Like, I have the most expressive.
I know. It is easier. We've talked about that on a podcast before. That's body language. If you don't have an expressive reaction, I'm not saying you should fake it, but you should be aware of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Like everything's a complete shock. And that's a problem, dating people in certain parts of the country where their faces are frozen. It's a little less expressive. Tough to date those men and women there. All right, plug the Focus Within, and then we are going to play something. It's your first time on the podcast. You're going to play something called Worst Date or First Date, which means you have to give us either the greatest first date you've ever had or the absolute worst date you ever had. Think back to your swinging single days. Your choice. But first, tell everybody where and how they can find Focus Within.
So I am online. You can find me on my website, which is thefocuswithin.com. I'm also over on Instagram at thefocuswithin. And I believe Facebook is also at The Focus Within. There might be a co at the end of that. I'm not sure. But either way, you can find me. All the things are on thefocuswithin.com for sure. And I would love to hear from anybody. Like, seriously, this is so fun. Thank you for having me.
And listen to her podcast because it's real good. Also,
thank you.
The Focus Within.
Yeah.
All right. Stop stalling. First date or worst date? Your choice.
Oh, my gosh. This is like going so far back. This is another part of trauma too. Is that
I feel like
to
a trauma place? Yes, go back. To
you kind of disassociate yourself and have zero memories of things. I'm going to go to the greatest first date.
Good. Okay.
So it was with my now husband.
Well, I was rooting for that. I was like, oh, man.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
With this guy, John.
Surprise, babe. Yeah. We actually were friends in high school. We dated very briefly in high school. And we were just always friends, and so going out with him was just like hanging out with an old friend. And we went to this fun art, it was like for an art collective or something to do with the Metro Parks. They were doing a fundraiser. So we went, had some drinks. We ended up going to this little jazz bar across the street in downtown Akron and just listened to live music, drank champagne, ended the night with a smooch. And it was just like really for the first time in such a long time, I feel like it was just me being me.
You felt relaxed.
I felt relaxed. I had fun.
Jazz helps.
Yeah. And I love music. And so it was perfect.
I hear a lot of those stories where people circle back to somebody who they didn't necessarily date, but knew at some other point in their lives. Yeah. And that nugget of familiarity breaks down a wall or two early on.
For sure.
That can go places.
For sure.
That was good. Good for him. That was good. As far as us, please, as always, like, share, follow, and review this podcast and The Focus Within. Your reviews mean a lot in the podcasting ecosystem. Shoot us an email, greatlovedebate@gmail.com if you got questions, if you got something for Angela. We have a listener letters episode coming up, I think the next one, and you guys have already sent us some batshit crazy stuff. But we're going to dig into that a little bit. Check out our live tour schedule, live shows, greatlovedebate.com. We got a few of them coming up. We're adding some. We're moving some. The world is a chaotic place. We're trying to keep up here. Because as always, at The Great Love Debate, we never stop making love. See you next time.